Hi cooking cronies, Vicky here today. I'm going to show you how to make this really yummy homemade pizza. The pizza crust is made with two ingredients, flour and yogurt. And that's it. I'm going to preheat my oven to 425 degrees and I'm going to spray my pizza pan with Pam, and this pizza pan is about 16 inches across. Now I'm going to get my ingredients here. You can use whatever you want for toppings, but I'm using a 7-ounce bag of pepperoni, 8 ounces of mozzarella cheese shredded, 1 onion, a half a can of black olives chopped up, and 1 green bell pepper chopped up. I'm using 1 cup of the Greek plain yogurt and 1 cup of flour. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder to my flour because I'm using all-purpose and you need self-rising. So if you don't have self-rising, you can use baking powder in your all-purpose. I'm also going to use about a cup of spaghetti sauce. And I'm going to start off with my crust now. So I am starting off with a cup of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to get that here in my bowl. And again, since I am not using self-rising, I am going to have to add a teaspoon of baking powder to this. So again, 1 cup of all-purpose flour plus 1 teaspoon of baking powder equals a cup of self-rising flour, which is what you want for this recipe. Now I'm just going to grab my spoon and stir this up, and then I'm going to go ahead and add 1 cup of the Greek yogurt, and this is plain Greek yogurt. And I'm actually going to add just under a cup. So what I found is if I use a full cup, it's a little bit too sticky. So I'm just using it's over 3/4 of a cup, but just under 1 cup. You can always add a little if you need to. The other thing I do is if it's a little sticky in the beginning, you'll see me add a little flour to it as I go. Now this is the same dough recipe that I used to make dumplings, chicken and dumplings, if you remember that recipe. This is the exact same dough. You can use the same dough to make a pizza crust. You can use it for your chicken and dumplings. And I'm going to try making cinnamon rolls with it as well. So this is really great. I actually found this recipe on another channel, Alicia Lynn's channel. I'm going to put that in my description today. Now I am going to mix this up with my hands here. It's the easiest way I've found to do this. And then when I get it all incorporated, I will sprinkle some flour out onto the counter, and then I will get my dough out of the bowl, place it on the counter, and knead the dough for 5 minutes. And as I knead it, I will be adding a little bit of flour to it just because it is a little sticky in the beginning. You can see how it's still sticking to my hands. But I just go ahead and it's not bad at all, and I just add a little bit of flour to it. You'll see that, and until I get it into a nice dough, and it actually starts kind of fluffing up. You'll see it begins to expand. And I'm just sprinkling flour on here, and it is all-purpose. It's not self-rising flour that I'm sprinkling on the counter. I don't bother to mix it. I guess you could, but I'm just using the regular all-purpose flour without adding the baking powder to it, just to for this part of it, just so that my hands do not stick to the dough. This is how I've been doing it. It works just fine. Now the trick here is to knead it for 5 minutes. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed this up, and then I will be back. This is looking really good. So now I'm going to go ahead and get my rolling pin. I'll add a little flour to the rolling pin, and I'm going to roll this out, and I need to roll it in a circle, and it needs to be about 16 inches wide to fit my pizza pan. So I'm going to get this rolled out. I will be sprinkling a little more flour on top as I go, but this dough is just so easy to work with, and it really is. It's good to, it's just easy. Even when I place it on the pizza pan, it all stays together. You'll see how that how that works. Now this is a very thin crust. That's what I wanted. If you want a thicker crust, you can use a smaller pizza pan or just go ahead and double the recipe. But I love thin crust pizza, and I'm watching my carbs, so this was perfect for us. Now I just slid it right on over onto the pan, and it was very, very easy. You can fold it though if you want to. I've done that like with pie crust. Sometimes I'll just fold it and then move it over to my pan, my pie pan. But this worked really well, even with the crust being so thin, the dough being so thin. It was still very easy to work with. It did not fall apart. I love this dough so much. Now I'm going to go ahead and just crimp it a little bit around the edge, and you'll see I'm kind of tearing off a little of the overlap on one side and then just sort of piecing it to the other side. It's very easy to do that with this dough, very workable. And now I've got my pizza crust all ready. I'm going to go ahead and add my spaghetti sauce. And I started off with a half a cup of spaghetti sauce, and then I ended up getting another half a cup. So I used a total of 1 cup of sauce on this pizza. And you can use pizza sauce if you want, but the spaghetti sauce was so good on here. And I'm just using the Classico tomato basil sauce. That's the same that I use for most of my pasta dishes. And these are the toppings that we like, but you can use so many different things, just whatever veggies you like. But it's always good to add the sauce first, and then the cheese, and then add your vegetables, and then place the meat on the top. That's how we do it. It works really great, especially when you're doing pepperoni. You want that to be up on the top. I'm sure you could put the veggies first and then the meat, but this makes a really pretty pizza. Now I am going to speed this up now just so we can get through it. But I added about an 8-ounce bag of the shredded mozzarella cheese. And I did end up using the entire bag because we like cheese. And then I'm adding 1 cup of the chopped bell peppers. I had 1 bell pepper left over. I made some stuffed peppers the other night. I had 1 pepper left, so it was perfect. This is a great way to use up some of those leftovers. Now I added a half a can of black olives, but I really could have used more than that, but this was fine. And then I had a 7-ounce bag of pepperoni. And I ended up using about half of it, so really about 4 ounces of pepperoni was plenty for this 16-inch pizza. You could also use ground Italian sausage on here, but this was amazing, really, just like this with the pepperoni. It is about 16 inches wide, so keep that in mind. It's about the size of a large pizza that you would buy in a restaurant. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven, and I ended up cooking it for 15 minutes at 425 degrees, and it was perfect. The crust came out nice and crispy, and if you want a thicker crust, just double your recipe and add more crust or more dough. Or just make a smaller pizza. But this was so good. We love thin crust pizza. This turned out so good, and you can see how easily it cuts. Give this recipe a try. Let us know if you do. We want to thank you so much for watching our video today. I hope that you are having a great week. Take good care, and don't forget to subscribe. Come back and see us. God bless.